Okay, so number 4, we have to find the missing side, right? We have to find the missing side. The missing side is, what is it called? Which one of these? Is it opposite, adjacent, or hypotenuse? What is the missing side called? Hypotenuse, right? It's called the hypotenuse. So we're missing the hypotenuse, right? Angle U we know is 68 degrees. Angle T is 90 degrees. Can we, first of all, how many degrees does every triangle have? 180. Every triangle has 180 degrees, right? So if we know that, how much should angle S be? How much should angle S be? Because that's the only one we don't know, right? It should be 22, right? How do we get 22? This is how you do it. Angle U is 68 degrees, right? What's angle T? 90 degrees. All together, shouldn't I get 180, right? So when you add up 68 plus 90, you get 158. How much more do you need to add to get to 180? 22. Okay? 22. So this guy is going to be 22 degrees. Let's see. ST is 96. I don't know what it is, meters, centimeters, inches, I don't know what it is. Feet. Okay? So this is what we have to do. We have to find this guy. How about TU? From T to U, do we know that? No, I don't, right? So let me I'll put a question mark there. They didn't put an X there because they don't need you to find it. But we don't, it's important to know if we know it or we don't know. Okay. So we're finding a missing side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use one of the angles, right? I'm going to use one of the angles, either U or S. Remember, we never use the right angle for these guys. We never use the right angle for these guys. We always use the other angles. So you have an option. You can choose angle U or angle S. Doesn't matter which one you want to use. I'm going to use angle U. I'll show you angle U first. So if I choose angle U, that's 68 degrees, right? I know that, right? Angles aren't lengths. Angles are openings. How wide is this door open, right? That's small angle. Bigger angle, right? So that opening is 68 degrees. Okay, so if I'm at U, I have 96 and I have X, right? What is 96? Is 96 adjacent, opposite, or hypotenuse? So from U to 96. It's opposite, right? It's opposite. And then the missing side from angle U, is that opposite, hypotenuse, or adjacent? It's hypotenuse, right? So what did we say? We said opposite, and I said hypotenuse, right? Which one are those? Those are sine or cosecant, right? So I could use either one of those. Now on my calculator, I have a sine button. I don't have a cosecant button, so I'm going to stick with sine. Okay? There's a workaround to get cosecant, but we won't worry about that right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say sine of U is what I just said, right? What's opposite of angle U? 96, right? And then what's the hypotenuse for this triangle? X, right? We don't know what that is, X. And I know a little bit more, right? I know what angle U is. What is the opening for angle U? 68. So I'm going to write that in here. I'm going to say sine of 68 degrees equals 96 divided by X. Okay. Now we're going to go back. We've done this before, not with sine, but we've done this before with solving equations, because we're solving, right? How do I get X by itself? I have 4 options. I can add, subtract, multiply, or divide something. I'm going to multiply, right? There's division over here. So I'm going to multiply. The opposite is multiplication. Good. What am I going to multiply both sides by? So not 96, because what is being divided? 96 is being divided by something, right? So I'm going to multiply by x, actually. Okay? When I do that, x divided by x makes 1, right? We've done that before. So I get 96 by itself over here. And then I have x times sine of 68 degrees. Okay? Now x is over here, right? Because I multiplied it by both sides. How do I get x by itself? It's almost there. How do I get x by itself? What am I going to do? Add, subtract, multiply, or divide? Divide, right? Divide by everything that's not shaded. Because it's multiply, right? It's being multiplied. So I'm going to divide it by everything that I didn't shade, which is sine of 68 degrees. Anything divided by itself makes a 1. So we have 1x. Now we got to go to the calculator. So you're going to go to your calculator now. Okay? So in our calculator, we're going to put this, 96 divided by sine of 68 degrees. Okay? So I'll do this one with you. If you know what you're doing, go for it. But if you're not sure, I'm going to do it with you. So I got to change. Mine always changes. It keeps changing from degrees to radians, so I got to make sure mine's in degrees first. So make sure, again, it says DEG up there. So I have, let me see. Okay, so let me go back. So 96 divided by sine, right? We said sine. Sine is right above the 7. 68 degrees. Someone in my last class asked a great question. That doesn't have degree. It doesn't have the symbol, right? How does it know it's degrees? Right there. That's why we changed it before. We said everything we put in with sine, cosine, tangent, all of those guys are always going to be degrees. So you don't need to put the degrees. So we hit equals, and we get 103.53933353. What did it say to round to? The nearest tenth, right? Which number there is in the tenths? 5. So 5 can stay or go up? Stay. So 103.5. 103.5. It didn't say meters, inches, feet, so we'll just leave it 103.5. Okay. So the missing side is 103.5. All right. Okay, so let's go to number 5 now. Okay. Solve for the missing side again. The missing side is this one over here. Okay, so we got a triangle. It's a right triangle. Angle C is 23 degrees. Angle D is 90 degrees. What is angle E? What is angle E going to be? Use your calculator to figure it out. What is it going to be?
67.
67, good. Because they all have to add up to be, they all have to add up to be 180. Okay. Okay, so now we got to find that missing side there, that green highlighted side. It's not a hypotenuse this time, right? It's not a hypotenuse. So I have two options. I have two angles I could use. I could use angle C, that's 23 degrees, or I can use angle E, that's 67 degrees. It's your choice. Okay, it's your choice. Whichever one you want to use is fine. Okay, you're going to get the same answer if you use them both, or if you use each one of them. Okay. For argument's sake, I'll pick E. So from E, the missing side is what? Opposite adjacent, or hypotenuse? Opposite, right? It's opposite. 9.5 is opposite, adjacent, or hypotenuse from E? Adjacent, right? So we said opposite and we said adjacent. Which one is that? Tangent and cotangent, right? Tangent and cotangent. Always try to use these three if you can. Sometimes we can't help it, but especially when we're using our calculator, we're going to use these three, the main ones here. So it's tangent, right? So tangent of angle E, right? Angle E is 67 degrees. We said tangent is opposite, right? So what was opposite again? What was opposite of E? X. That goes on top. What is adjacent to E? 9.5. That's the hard part there. The hard part is done. The last thing is solve it. How do I get X by itself? X is up here. X is up here. How do I get that guy by itself? I can add, subtract, multiply, or divide something. I'm going to multiply this one. Because isn't it being divided by 9.5? So the opposite, I want to get X by itself. So the opposite is multiply by 9.5. (9.5) times tangent of 67 degrees equals X. X is by itself. We're done. Calculator. What is 9.5 times tangent of 67 degrees? If I remember correctly, it's in the 20s. Is it in the 20s? Yeah, 22.4. Yeah, you're going to round it. It's because it's 22.3805977. So when you actually multiply it, or actually round it, it's going to be 22.4. Okay, when you use your calculator to do that. Okay, not too bad. The only difference between those two and the last two are that we have to draw the triangle. They don't give us the triangle. They tell us a situation. We have to draw the triangle and then do the same thing. That's it. Okay? That's the only difference. Sometimes they give you the triangle. They're nice and they give you the triangle. Sometimes they don't. So for 6 and 7, they do not. Okay? Okay, so here we go. From her eye, which stands 1.69 meters above the ground. Okay? So we don't really use meters in this country. We use yards, feet, inches, miles. But a meter is very close to a yard. This is a yardstick here, 36 inches yardstick. So it's very close to this. So her eyes are 1 and then 0.69 more above the ground. That's what it's saying. So let me draw a picture of her. So here she is here. I'm just going to use stick figures because that's all I can do. Okay? Her eyes, and then here's the ground. Let me draw the ground too. Here's the ground. Her eyes are 1.69 meters above the ground. Okay, it's from her eyes. That's the first sentence, or before the first line. Sadie measures the angle of elevation. What is angle of elevation? It means when you're looking up. When you look up for something, you're creating an angle of elevation. It means you're creating something. So if I look straight across, I'm looking at this sign here. But then if I look up to the top of to where the ceiling meets the wall, that opening there, that is the angle of elevation, okay? So we have, she's looking straight across here. Then she looks up. What is she looking at? A skyscraper, a tall building. So there's a tall building over here. Okay. So when she lifts her head up to look up at the tall building, that angle that she makes is 36 degrees. So 36 degrees. That angle that she's lifting her head up is 36 degrees. That's what that says. That's what that second part of that first sentence says. Okay? If she is standing at a horizontal distance of 275 meters from the base of the skyscraper. So that just means horizontal means side to side. Right? We sleep horizontal, we stand vertical. So this distance to the building, from where she is to the building, is 275 meters. How tall is the skyscraper? That's what they want to know. So from the top all the way to the ground, how tall is the skyscraper? That's what they want to know. Okay, there's a triangle there. The right angle is where her eye line meets the building. Okay? That's the picture. So I don't know how tall the building is, but I do know some of it. I know this distance here, 1.69 meters. That's how her height is part of the height of that. Okay? So I got to find the blue and add it to 1.69. So the blue also matches this guy right here. Those blues are the same height. So it's part of the triangle. Okay. So if I use this angle here, what am I going to use? Where is x? Is x opposite, adjacent, or hypotenuse? Opposite. And then I know she's 275, right? So from here, 275 is what? Opposite, adjacent, or hypotenuse? Adjacent. So I said opposite and I said adjacent, right? That's tangent. Okay, so I'm going to use tangent to solve this. Just like I did on the last one. So she's over here. Tangent's 36. So 36 degrees. We said opposite was x. We said adjacent was 275 meters, right? Adjacent was 275. Solve for x. How do I get x by itself? Add, subtract, multiply, or divide. Multiply, yep. Multiply by 275. And you get x equals, so now we're going to go put this in my calculator, 275 times tangent of 36. Tell me what you get. Should be almost 200. Practice on the calculator, because when we have a test or a quiz, I'm not going to be able to help you with the calculator. So do the practice now so that you can know how to use it. Okay? What was it? Yeah, 199.799195. Yeah, I got that. That's what I got. Oh, 79, sorry. Okay. So if I round that, it would be 0.8, right? Because it would be 199 that would be 0, so it would be 80, right? So if I put 199.80 on my test or quiz, it would be marked wrong. Why? Why would it be marked wrong? Yeah, I didn't add her height. I got to add her height in there. So you're going to add the height plus 1.69. So when you add those, we get over 200. 201.489. Yeah, 489.1952. Round that answer now. So now the 8 is in the hundredths. So 9 says go up, so it would be 0.49. 201.49. Meters, because it's in meters. Okay. All right, one more we're going to do, and then I'm going to give you one that kind of models these, and then we'll be done. Okay? We'll be done for today. All right. Okay, so this one's not about a skyscraper. No one's looking up in the sky at a skyscraper. This one's about a ladder. A ladder and a wall and the ground. Okay? Yeah, go. So think of a ladder. Here's a wall. There's the ground. Where does a ladder stand? Yeah, it kind of stands diagonal, right? Doesn't stand vertical. If it's vertical, you're going to fall over once you try to go up that ladder, right? Unless it's attached to the wall. The ground stays, the wall stays, the ladder comes across like that, right? So let's kind of draw a picture of what that looks like. So a ladder kind of goes diagonal. Here's the ground. Uh-huh. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Uh-huh. Go ahead. Here's the wall. Okay. Blue is the ladder. Horizontal, side to side, is the ground. Vertical is the wall. Okay. Now, what do we know about that triangle that we made? We know a couple things. We know the ladder's 26 feet, right? We know the ladder's 26 feet. We know there's a right angle. So 26 feet here. And then it says 72. Where does 72 go? Does 72 go at the top or at the bottom? Yeah, where the ground is, right? Because it says with the ground, where the ladder meets the ground. That's at the bottom. And then they want you to figure out what's the horizontal distance between the base of the ladder, base is the bottom, and the bottom of the wall. So this guy, I'm going to put it in green. That guy there. Okay. They don't care how tall the ladder, how tall the wall is. They don't care about that. They just want to know how far is the bottom of the ladder from the wall. Okay, so if I'm at 72, where is x? Is x hypotenuse, adjacent, or opposite? So opposite would be the wall, right? Opposite would be here. Adjacent is touching, right? And what would 26 be? That would be the hypotenuse, right? So we said adjacent and hypotenuse. That's cosine. Okay, that's cosine. So cosine so the angle is 72 degrees. We said adjacent is x. We said hypotenuse is 26 feet. Oops. How do I get x by itself? Add, subtract, multiply, or divide. Multiply. Multiply both sides by 26. So we multiply, so 26 times cosine of 72. You get 8, a little over 8, 8.03 something. 8.034, what was it? 4, 3 fours, and a 1/8. They want us to round to the nearest hundredth. So the hundredth is the 3. So that's going to stay because 4 is not quite big enough. So that would be feet. So how far is the ladder from the wall? A little over 8 feet. Smidge over 8 feet. Okay. So I'm going to give you one more to do. It's a ladder question, but it's not going to say Hakeem. It's not going to say 26 feet. It's not going to say, but it's a ladder question. So you know there has to be a ladder. There has to be a wall. There has to be a floor. Okay? All right. So on one side, you're going to put your name. On the other side, you're going to put your, you're going to do the problem. Just one problem. So it's one problem for everyone. So whether you are red or yellow, you're going to do the same problem. So I just put one problem. Okay? And then we'll be done. You can use your notes. You can use your calculator. If you put your notes away, you're saying, Mr. Flores, I'm good enough for a test right now. If you don't want to tell me that, keep your notes out. Okay? So take your notes, leave your notes in front of you so you can use them to help you. My first period, I had half my class put their notes away. And then I looked at their exit tickets. Those half, most of them missed it. And I'm like, why didn't you use your notes? So you can use your notes on a test and quizzes. Use your notes on exit tickets. Okay? If it's because it's not important, I can make this important. I don't think you want me to, but, right? So get as far as you can. Draw the picture first, label the picture as best you can, and then go from there.